You've got passkeys everywhere now. Your email, your bank, your social accounts, maybe your password manager itself. Now what happens the day you drop your phone in a lake? That's not a hypothetical for shock value. It's genuinely the single most common support scenario passkey providers deal with. And the honest answer depends entirely on one setting. Most people never actually checked when they set the passkey up in the first place, back when everything just worked and there was no reason to look closer. Here's the distinction that decides everything. A passkey is either synced or device-bound. A synced passkey gets copied, encrypted, into your cloud account, iCloud Keychain, Google Password Manager, whichever ecosystem you're in, and it reappears automatically on a replacement device the moment you sign back into that account. A device-bound passkey never leaves the hardware it was created on. That covers most hardware security keys, and increasingly, work-managed Windows devices too. Lose that specific piece of hardware, and the credential is simply gone. No cloud copy waiting for you. No automatic recovery. You're immediately into whatever backup method the website built for exactly this scenario. Let's go platform by platform, starting with Apple, since it currently has the most mature recovery flow of the three. Passkeys saved to iCloud Keychain are end-to-end encrypted and backed up through what Apple calls Keychain escrow, meaning even Apple itself can't read them. Only you can unlock that backup. To recover on a new device, you sign in with your Apple account, verify through a code sent to a trusted phone number, and then enter your device passcode as a third factor. Apple caps you at 10 attempts total before locking the recovery attempt entirely and requiring a manual support case. So guessing your way through isn't a real strategy. Get it right or get organized beforehand. Google's approach is similar in spirit. Passkeys saved to Google Password Manager sync through your Google account, and recovery runs through Google's standard account recovery process. A prompt sent to another device you're already signed into, or backup codes if you generated and saved them in advance. The catch with Google is that if your lost phone was your only signed-in device and you never generated backup codes ahead of time, you're relying entirely on Google's automated identity verification, which can take real time to complete and isn't guaranteed to succeed on the first attempt, particularly if your account doesn't have much history for the system to verify against. Microsoft splits into two genuinely different stories depending on which account type you mean, and this is the platform where people get caught out most often. For a personal Microsoft account, passkeys saved to Microsoft Password Manager do sync through your cloud account, similar in spirit to Apple and Google, and recovery follows roughly the same pattern. For a work or school account through Microsoft Entra, it's a different world entirely. Entra passkeys on Windows are explicitly device-bound by design. They do not sync across devices, and each machine needs its own separate registration tied to that specific account. If that's your setup, lose the laptop means lose that specific credential, full stop, with no cloud safety net waiting to catch you. So here's failure mode number 1, and it's by far the most common one support teams see. A lost device with no backup enrolled anywhere. If you set up a passkey on exactly one phone, synced or not, and something happens to that phone before you've added a second device or generated recovery codes, you're now completely dependent on the platform's identity verification process to get back in. That process can absolutely work, but it's slower than you'd want it to be. It may ask for account details you don't have handy in the moment, and depending on the platform and how long you've had the account, it may not resolve smoothly on the first try. The fix here isn't complicated or expensive. It's just something people skip entirely because the passkey worked flawlessly on day 1, and there was never an obvious reason to revisit it. Failure mode number 2 is subtler, a deleted or abandoned account that your passkeys were quietly synced to. If you ever switch your primary Apple account, Google account, or Microsoft account, and don't deliberately carry your passkeys forward as part of that switch, you can end up with credentials synced to an account you no longer actively check, which functions identically to having no backup at all the day you actually need one. And failure mode 3, switching ecosystems entirely, an iPhone user moving to Android, or the reverse. Cross-platform passkey transfer has genuinely improved over the past year, but it's not universal yet, and depending on the specific site, you may need to re-register a fresh passkey on the new platform, rather than simply carrying the old one over automatically in the background. Alright, here's your actual do this now checklist, and the whole thing takes about 10 minutes if you move through it deliberately. First, enroll a second device on every account where a passkey really matters: your email, your bank, your primary cloud account. A synced passkey living on two devices turns one lost phone into a non-event instead of a scramble. If you're on Windows with a work Entra account specifically, this matters even more, since those passkeys don't sync by design. Ask your IT admin directly whether a second registered device or an alternate method is available to you. Don't just assume it happens automatically in the background the way it does on your personal accounts. Second, generate and print recovery codes wherever the site offers them, and store that printout somewhere that isn't also on the device you're worried about losing. A safe, a locked drawer, anywhere physical works. A note saved in your phone dies right along with the phone. Third, check your recovery contact and recovery phone number on your Apple, Google, and Microsoft accounts specifically, since those are exactly what stand between you and a slow, multi-step identity verification process if the automated recovery path stalls out. Update anything that's stale or points to a number you no longer actually have, and for your single most valuable accounts, primary email, banking, your password manager itself, if it supports Passkeys, consider adding a physical hardware security key as a completely independent backup that doesn't depend on any cloud account working correctly at all. If you haven't watched the platform comparison breakdown, Passkeys 2026, Apple versus Google versus Microsoft, that's where I go deep on the actual security trade-offs between these three ecosystems day to day. This video is specifically about not getting locked out of whichever one you've already picked. And if you want the fuller management walkthrough, sharing passkeys with family members, auditing exactly what's stored where, rotating out old credentials you don't recognize, I covered that in Advanced Passkey Management and Recovery, linked below. Think of this video as the disaster recovery half of that conversation, not a repeat of it. Do the 10-minute checklist today, starting with your most important accounts first, email and banking above everything else on your list. This is exactly the kind of setup step that's completely invisible right up until the one day it isn't. And by then, it's genuinely too late to set it up properly. If you want to see exactly what the actual lockout screen looks like when this goes wrong, and how long recovery really takes in practice, check out today's short. This happens if you lose your passkey device. Subscribe if you want the practical side of security like this. No fluff. Just what to actually do before the phone ends up in the lake. Thanks for watching. Stay secure out there.